GM friends, and welcome back to another episode on the Friends Validator Show. If this is your first video, I'm your host Juri Maibaum, and this show is the hub that brings together crypto pioneers, exciting projects, and a thriving community. We are in the middle of a new month, which is March, so time for our format Overrated, Underrated with Cryptocito, where we rate the current valuation and potential of various crypto projects. And today we will cover Ethereum, Near, Babylon, Cardano, and many, many more. But first things first, Cryptocito, how you doing? First time we do this format with a new Bitcoin all-time high, which is a good sign, no?
That is true. Yeah. I mean, it's been a long time in the making, but I think it went really fast. Like in the past 4 or 5 months, I think the market looked very different. And here we are celebrating new Bitcoin all-time highs. And I think altcoins will follow up soon in this upcoming bull run. I think everything is primed up for 2024 to be a very good, positive year for our industry, liquidity flowing back into the markets. So good times to be in crypto.
Fully agree on that. Quick question. I was in Denver when the mania really took off. And for my taste, it was almost too fast, like I was still in the 2023 vibe where everything looked so bad. And all of a sudden, it was 2021, early 2021 all over again. So are we is this maybe all of this a little bit too early for our taste? So what are your thoughts? Because all of this went, as you mentioned, very, very fast.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's sure about crypto price movements is that always what you least expect is happening. And I think people were expecting the ETF, the Bitcoin ETF approval to be a sell the news event. And we had this rally leading up to the Bitcoin ETF approvals. And then on the actual day or week of the Bitcoin ETF being approved, it was flat, maybe slightly down. And then what people least expected was for the inflows to actually pick up after the approval. And BlackRock just keeps buying and buying and buying. And what Grayscale had to sell off, that was absorbed by the market. So I think this was the least expected scenario. And I mean, I think everyone is just happy to, for what it did to the markets. And yeah, I think in Cosmos specifically, we're still far away from all-time highs. It's pretty much only Bitcoin that is now in price discovery. Injective is in a price discovery, maybe a few other coins, and especially the new ones like Celestia, right? But I think there's still huge upside for altcoins. So yeah, it felt very fast. I think also from reviving the crypto market to getting into crazy meme coin mania, that went also really fast, from a narrative perspective. But I feel like now there's too many bullish things still coming up, like the Ethereum ETF approval, the Bitcoin halving is now around a month away. Then the Ethereum ETF in May. We still have an election year in the US, and regulation is kind of advancing in many jurisdictions. With Cosmos, of course, that's going to be a big event for the Cosmos ecosystem. So yeah, big year and many bullish events still coming.
Yeah, and we will cover some of them in the show in a second. So let me share my screen real quick. So let us get started with the very first coin of today. You mentioned it, Ethereum. The Ethereum ETF is being anticipated a lot right now. I chose Ethereum, so I will just talk a little bit about Ethereum because I've also been to Denver a few weeks ago to attend ETH Denver, which is essentially, besides DevCon and maybe EthCC, the Ethereum conference. And I must say I was very surprised. So the Ethereum ecosystem is booming. I think primarily Eigenlayer brought new life to the ecosystem with the restaking narrative, but also other narratives are very present in the Ethereum ecosystem nowadays. For example, layer 2s, rollups, all of this is taking place in the Ethereum ecosystem. The current price of Ethereum, so while recording this episode, the crypto market is actually dumping quite a bit, which is in my book a very, very healthy and overdue correction. But the current price is $3,642, which is slightly below its all-time high. As you mentioned, Ethereum is not in a price discovery mode yet, but this can change relatively quickly because the all-time high is at $4,878, so it's not too far away from its previous all-time high, even though we are dumping right now. And yet you mentioned the Ethereum ETF. For me, it still feels very delusional, but if you talk to experts in this field, they say an Ethereum ETF is very, very likely to get approved. Which is very, very interesting to see. And obviously, this would change the entire market dynamics because Ethereum's market cap is still, I think, a 3x below the ones of Bitcoin. So if we see a capital inflow in forms of ETF, there's really nothing that could really stop the bull. So this is from the macroeconomic perspective, so to say. The sentiment around Ethereum is very great, but also from a technical perspective, Ethereum is finally making those moves that I was like anticipating in 2022. Which is, for example, the Dencun upgrade. So Dencun comes from the name the DEFCON conference in Cancun, which was taking place, I think, in 2014 or something. But anyway, Dencun provides more block space and temporary data storage on chain and so-called blobs. And the blobs take up much less block space. So they are much faster to process and much more efficient than processing blocks. And this is the reason why Ethereum will be much more scalable in terms of lower fees, faster transaction speed. And CoinShares did a report saying that Ethereum will be 10 to 100 times cheaper to use, and the layer 2s will be 45 to 100 times faster than right now. So TLDR, the Ethereum narrative is extremely strong right now. Layer 2s, rollups, restaking, and a successful Dencun upgrade that just took place. So in my book, extremely underrated because there's so much upcoming. I don't think that we will see a 40 or 50x with ETH, which we could see with other altcoins. But for me, Ethereum is just a super safe bet that you can take right now. It's a free 5 to 10x, long term, maybe even more. This is the reason why I say Ethereum criminally underrated. And last thing, you can also let your ETH work for you and anticipate with airdrops in the Eigenlayer ecosystem. So extremely underrated.
Do you think that Ethereum will overtake Bitcoin this cycle?
Difficult question now with the Bitcoin ETF. Depends on how fast the depends on how fast the Ethereum ETF will get approved. I mean, if it takes 6 to 8 to 10 months, then I don't think so. If the ETH ETF gets approved relatively quickly, I can imagine that it will happen. Long term, I believe that ETH will flip Bitcoin for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know too much about like the depths around the roadmap of Ethereum. I know Vitalik published one a couple of months ago. I think the Dencun upgrade that just went live, like you said, is very bullish for like especially the L2 environment. I think there's still the question. I don't know if that's been figured out yet around decentralized sequencers, because I think still a lot of the L2s kind of depend on or have basically like single point of failures, or at least one or two like very kind of centralized points. So not sure about that. Also, the last time I interacted with Ethereum mainnet was claiming my alt layer airdrop, and it was a terrible experience for me. I mean, I'm very bullish on ETH as an asset. I think with the ETF most likely being approved, I think it's less likely that the Ethereum ETF will be approved than the likelihood of the Bitcoin ETF we had a couple of months ago. But I think still it's quite high that it will be approved. And when it gets approved, this will not only cause ETH to like go to 10K, probably even 20K, but also all altcoins. So I'm very bullish on ETH as an asset. Not too sure about like ETH from a user's perspective, unless you're probably a whale, because you're still being priced out unless you use L2s. But then again, you have this issue of kind of centralization and sequencing. But yeah, obviously Ethereum is the largest ecosystem in crypto, the biggest liquidity, the biggest developer activity and mindshare, and smartest people in our industry. And I don't think that will change in the next at least year or two. But yeah, I'm bullish on ETH. I would say it's undervalued, underrated right now. But also, I want to emphasize, like, I mean, comparing Bitcoin to Ethereum, most innovation is happening on Ethereum. But then comparing Ethereum to Solana, or specifically, obviously, in Cosmos, I think there's more innovation even happening between Cosmos and Ethereum. So I'm more bullish on Cosmos than I am on Ethereum, but I'm more bullish on Ethereum than I am on Bitcoin. So yeah, but I think the ETF is going to have a huge impact on the price movement of ETH. So undervalued, and yeah, I'm bullish.
Yeah, so for me, it's like just a blue chip coin of all of crypto ETH. So if you say, hey, I want to buy a cryptocurrency that has like slightly more upside potential than Bitcoin, and I'm not a huge fan of Bitcoin, I also want to go and stake my cryptocurrencies, I want to have like a certain degree of utility, then Ethereum is really the place to go for you. One thing to add here, yes, there is a problem with the sequencers, but with everything else in Ethereum, it gets solved over time. Proof of work was a problem, it got solved. And now the scalability of the layer 2s weren't that fantastic. So the L2s had a hard time to compete with Solana, for example. And now with the successful launch of the Dencun upgrade, the L2s are in a very, very good place. And the user experience appreciated a lot, because now L2s could have 45 to 100 times faster transaction finality. So yeah, I think all of these problems will be solved, and that's also why Ethereum for me is underrated. But yeah, moving on. That's your take. Coreum, relatively new project. I think you have to provide some context here first.
Yeah, Coreum is a relatively new Cosmos Layer 1 blockchain. And the team behind Coreum is actually very interesting, because they have their origins in the XRP community and XRP scene. So that's the Ripple environment. And Ripple is also kind of a very OG crypto project, obviously, that dates back to like 2013, 14, whatever. And yeah, the funding team of Coreum is also the funding team of Sologenic, which is a DeFi platform on the XRP ledger. But I think at some point they just figured out, like, the XRP ledger is maybe not the best environment to build out a full-on DeFi stack. XRP holders are probably also not the right audience to activate for engaging in any DeFi activities. There's also no way to currently stake your XRP or to get exposed to any sort of yield source. So what they did is they launched a Cosmos L1 sometime last year that is optimized for interoperability and for tokenization. So they also fit into that RWA bucket. And what they just announced recently, a few days ago, is the launch of an XRP ledger to Cosmos bridge, basically expanding IBC to be compatible with the XRP ledger. And obviously, them being the team that also built Sologenic means now you can also expose native XRP ledger assets to Cosmos DeFi. And I think that kind of merges communities. I'm not sure, too sure how excited the OG Ripple and XRP community is about that. It would obviously open up new revenue sources and yield opportunities for them. And also, I think that's what I'm trying to talk with the team. They should just kind of enable restaking for XRP to secure Cosmos chains, right? And I think that would fit into this mesh security vision of Cosmos, which is probably the end game for shared security and restaking. But nonetheless, I think undervalued, number one, because it's a experienced, solid tech team that is now building and refining and improving IBC. They're also upstreaming a lot of their work to just make IBC more resilient and more battle tested. And yeah, maybe I think they can also onboard more enterprise. They have a strong network, obviously, in the XRP community, which is also more formal in comparison to, the Cosmos communities that we have. So yeah, undervalued in that sense from a fundamentals perspective. That's my take.
Yeah, I can largely agree on that. I think we also need more enterprises in crypto that also bring in the ability to, to basically facilitate the way towards mass adoption, because these enterprises work with the masses. For example, Telecom and Vodafone, who are also a part of Cosmos 23, they work with the mainstream since decades. And if we get more and more if we get more and more of these enterprises into crypto, specifically Cosmos, that would be a blessing. And yeah, I really like the idea of restaking XRP, because XRP has a gigantic market cap. So to use this economic security to secure other chains in the Cosmos is very, very interesting. And last thing I mentioned, I also looked it up. So Coreum actually has a market cap of sub 100 million. I think it's at 60 million. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I believe it's 60 million. So that's like a steal nowadays. Everything that's sub 100 million, right?
I agree. I think it's around 80 million, like between 60 and 80, yeah, but definitely below 100. And yeah, I think the staking APR is also relatively decent. It's like 35 or 40%, something like that. I don't know. But yeah, it's an interesting tokenization play and RWAs play and interoperability play, because they're bringing IBC outside of the Cosmos native environment, right?
Yeah.
Also very bullish on that kind of narrative. So
we both say underrated.
yes.
Great. The next one, Near, we also mentioned it in the beginning, I believe. So Near is a pick that I've chosen. By the way, both Cryptocito and friends are on the Near blockchain. So actually, this is the only validator right now that we have outside of the Cosmos besides our Ethereum validators. But I am very optimistic about Near's future. First off, in 2023 at NearCon, Ilya Pulushkin, one of the co-founders of Ethereum, announced that Near will become a data availability layer for Ethereum rollups. And why is Near so attractive for that? It's relatively easy to explain. Near and Ethereum always had very strong synergies. So if you were like at any Ethereum hackathon, there was a high likelihood that there was like some team member of the Near team there. And Near also targeted the same developers. Near has an uptime of 100%, which is not too common in the crypto industry, unfortunately. The focus right now is on abstraction besides data availability right now, of course. So these are like the two narratives that Near is focusing on, and these are two strong narratives, abstraction and data availability. I don't have to add more to the team with Ilya Pulushkin and Alex, two OGs in the entire crypto industry, very well respected. So this is also a very bullish sign. We also see that Near is getting some traction right now. The Near coin has made a lot of good moves in the past few days. It's still away from its all-time high, but not too much. I think like a decent 40 or 50% or something. And yeah, as mentioned, very Ethereum aligned, but also open-minded. So there's a team in the Cosmos called Composable, and they are working on shipping IBC to Near for quite some time now. So yeah, Near is in a very good position. I like their team. I like their vision of crypto entirely. Abstraction and data availability are some very, very strong narratives. So yeah, in my book, underrated.
Yeah, also I think especially if you're very Cosmos heavy and really deep in Cosmos, Near is an interesting hedge against your Cosmos conviction, right? That is also somehow in the end of the day aligned, right? Like you mentioned Ilya, and he was here in Dubai. We also met him. We did an event with him, or he did one, and we were there. I think there's a lot of synergies, a lot of mutual respect also between Near developers and Cosmos developers. The same counts, by the way, for also Ethereum developers and Cosmos developers. So yeah, like you say, Near, very interesting for sure. Definitely a good hedge and extension to a Cosmos portfolio, maybe if it's too Cosmos heavy. And yeah, I'm also very excited about it. I'm obviously not kind of as deep into like the tech stack as with Cosmos, like me personally. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely doing a lot of things right. I think the UX is actually very good, and even like in many instances, it's much better than even Cosmos UX. Their wallet infrastructure, and yeah, I think Near, like I said, I think the biggest thing here is really that it's a good non-Cosmos non-Cosmos projects that make sense to maybe look into or have exposure, because like you don't want to end up like having all eggs in one basket, right? Because in the end of the day, this is still crypto, right? It's still risky and volatile, highly experimental. So yeah, you also want to look into some other ecosystems, and I think Near is a very interesting one.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So we both say underrated?
Yes.
Great.
But it's also hard now to like be
not bullish on something.
Yeah. Well, maybe we have one today. Let's see.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Oh, look at this.
Oh,
Cardano.
what a surprise.
Surprise, surprise. Yeah, Cardano is your take.
Yeah, I mean, when we're preparing for these shows, we're always thinking, okay, like, is there something that we're not bullish on? And it's very, very hard, right? Because also, like, yeah, we try to see always the best in everything. Considering that ADA has a 20, $30 billion market cap, I think it's still severely overrated. Just considering kind of the ecosystem, the development, right? We talked about it also, I think, on a show a couple of months ago when I was at the Cardano Summit, getting to listen to some of the talks and also hear Charles talk. There's a lot of things that they're kind of like presenting as like innovative things that are already in full production on other ecosystems since a long times, right? Like, for example, governance. They're now working on opening up their governance framework, which is something that every Cosmos chain has baked in from zero, right? A governance module that enables every token holder to vote and propose ideas to change parameters on a network or whatever. Polkadot has it now with their OpenGov system now since almost a year, I guess. And Cardano is always presenting these ideas as like innovative revolution, even though like other ecosystems have it for a long time. They have a very strong kind of marketing play and good narrative. Charles is a fantastic speaker. I think maybe someone that we don't have in Cosmos that we probably wish we had, because he's just great at like presenting the big vision in simple words for everyone to understand and for people to also rally behind this. But yeah, I think there's some interesting things happening in Cardano, but also I think it's still severely overvalued and overrated. So yeah, that's I guess the only pick we have today that fits into that. And I've been following Cardano since 7 years now, like since it went live, right? And ADA first launched as an ERC20 token, which it was for many years before they launched the Shelly mainnet in 2020, which was a partial kind of permissioned public network, and it's still not fully decentralized in the governance side of things. And yeah, I know that's on the roadmap, but I think right now, given that they have a $20 billion market cap, 25 actually, reached 100 billion in 2021, $100 billion market cap, overrated.
Yeah, I fully agree on that. I also hear you when they always, present things that's supposed to be new or innovative, but that aren't new or innovative at all. You mentioned governance as a great example. Another thing that I have to criticize is, so Cardano got a lot of traction in 2021. Why? Because gas fees were like super high. So everyone went from Ethereum to Cardano to do stuff, especially newcomers that wanted to trade. But then also a lot of other blockchains entered the stage, such as Solana, Avalanche, and so on and so forth. And I have the feeling that Cardano was focusing too much on Ethereum, and all of a sudden, they got like outperformed by other ecosystems, such as as mentioned, Solana and Avalanche. So this is the reason why I also think it's completely overrated, because there are so many projects that are actually much more thriving than Cardano. And for me personally, I'm much more bullish on Solana and I'm much more bullish on Avalanche. And it's also that I also have the feeling that Cardano did not move on with time. So everyone is talking now about abstraction, about data availability, about customization, so that you can launch your customized rollup or customized layer 2 or customized app chain. I believe that Cardano will come in 1 year around and say, oh, we have the Cardano SDK, when everyone has its own SDK. So yeah, that's the reason why I also think that Cardano is overrated, especially considering the high market cap.
Yeah, I think one thing is like they try to extract users from Ethereum, but also another thing is like philosophically, Cardano has always tried to be labeled as a Ethereum killer, and they always try to start beef with other projects, right? And even though they're saying they don't, they actually do, right? And Charles is at the forefront, because Charles is always firing these shots, and I don't really get it, like why you're doing that. Like we also have that problem sometimes in Cosmos. Within Cosmos, it's not a Cardano specific project, but I think Cardano, like Charles Hoskinson, is such a big. He's like the face of Cardano, right? And if the face of Cardano constantly shoots at other projects, I don't think it's the best look for the ecosystem and for the community culture, which is why, it's unfortunate, right? Because, I mean, it would be probably nice for Cardano to just integrate IBC, right? There's actually a project called World Mobile Token that is working on that, right? They're building a Cardano sidechain that's built on the Cosmos SDK and should also enable IBC, Cosmos IBC. But I also don't think that's where the Cardano Foundation really wants to fund this and like rally behind, because that means synergizing with a perceived competitor. And I don't think that's the right mentality, right? Like the Cosmos mentality is quite open in that sense, like the basis of the philosophy, at least. Sure, in detail, you have, beef when Sunny, especially like Bull Run Sunny, is really tough to enjoy sometimes, because he's always firing shots as well. But like in the end of the day, there's still a lot of synergies with Osmosis and other, even with Neutron and Osmosis, there are synergies. But it's just not the best look, I guess, for Cardano, when the figurehead is always kind of shooting against other projects and or not supporting synergizing with existing ecosystems. So I think it's just a missed opportunity, to be honest.
Yeah, 100% agree. So we both think Cardano is overrated. And always had a hard time to, grasp my mind around Cardano. Next project, Agoric, one of my favorite projects right now, actually, because also Agoric is in my book criminally underrated. Slightly above 100 million market cap at $114 million to be precise. I don't have to add more to the team. Dean Tribble is an absolute OG. He was around when the internet got invented. Then he was around when, blockchain and crypto got traction, and now he is again at the forefront of innovation with a completely new technical approach that Agoric has. So in crypto, you either code in Rust or in Solidity. This is like a very, very strong rule, but Agoric breaks this rule by allowing JavaScript developers to deploy smart contracts also in JavaScript on top of the Agoric blockchain, which is a huge game changer, because there are, I think, 24 million developers that can code in JavaScript. So it opens up a huge door. And in Denver, when I was around in Denver, one thing that Aaron was saying was, yes, we may have more users. Yes, we may have more traction now, but we still don't have enough developers. We need more developers, and Agoric facilitates that with JavaScript developers. Then Agoric is working on two narratives. One is orchestration, and orchestration is all about making applications more interoperable with each other. We mentioned that there are a lot of new modular app chains, but all of them have to interoperate with each other. And IBC won't be enough for that. So IBC is basically the ground layer for that. But to have like really a super seamless experience for you as a user, you need kind of a layer that handles all of the orchestration. This is where Agoric comes into play. And I mentioned it already, abstraction. I'm very, very bullish on abstraction. I haven't explained it for my near take, but abstraction is basically all about removing complexities for the user. So as soon as you interact with a blockchain and some blockchain part comes into play, then the user experience usually gets very bad. And we want to remove this. So right now, this is also what Ilya Pulushkin criticized, is like we have like hundreds of interfaces, but no real applications, because if you want to use osmosis, you have to open another application, which is Kepler. So this is a bad user experience. And abstraction is removing all of that, bake everything in from the get-go. And this is what Agoric focuses on. So these two narratives, extremely exciting. So yeah, in my book, criminally underrated, because really strong team. With Dean Tribble and the others, $140 million, a no-brainer, underrated.
Yeah, I also think very underrated. I think the big challenge for Agoric will be to gain traction now in this very noisy bull run that's coming, because now you have a lot of different narratives evolving and emerging. And yeah, I think Agoric, I'm also a big fan of Dean and what they're building and their narrative, and they're hard pushing now to educate the community and onboard users and applications. But I think what they really need is 1 or 2 killer applications that are so easy to use, where you're like, holy shit, this is a new level of crypto application, right? Like a next generation. Because right now, like every crypto application, especially in Cosmos, is still very hard to use. If you're not a seasoned Cosmos user, you will get lost in the IBC jungle, even like just doing transactions back and forth between different chains. And then you always need a gas token on that chain if you want to do XYZ, mint a stable token, leverage that or leverage stake that, or do open a lease on Nolos, for example, or on Quasar, deposit into a vault, or shade swap. There's viewing keys you need to create. Like this whole UX needs to be simplified. And I think Agoric now came out and said, we want to fix that once and for all. But now I think it's also to actually launch an application that showcases that technology, right? So yeah, they have a big team. I'm very confident that they can ship something that changes the game. And if that really gains massive traction, I think BLD, which is the native token that fuels all that build, basically, has a lot of upside potential in that bull run. So definitely very interesting play, and very, very undervalued in my view as well.
Yeah, once again, we completely align on this. And I believe that we also align on the next one. This take is brought to you by Cito Babylon, another chain that is about to launch in the Cosmos.
Yeah, Babylon is probably one of the top 3 launches in Cosmos this year. I would say Berachain and also Saga maybe is in there. But Babylon is bringing Bitcoin staking, or introducing Bitcoin staking to the world, which is something that activates the Bitcoin community. And since Babylon is a fully Cosmos SDK built chain, the first use case is basically to leverage Bitcoin security by enabling Bitcoin staking to secure Cosmos chains. And the first chain they're actually going to secure is the Cosmos Hub and the Atom Economic Zone. So basically allowing Bitcoin staking to be directed to the Cosmos Hub network. And I think there's going to be some very interesting use cases are evolving out of that, right? So let's see. I think there's also a lot of unexplored territory, like similar how inscriptions was an invention that brought to life a lot of new use cases and opportunities. I think similar, Babylon is going to explore new avenues for the BTC community to generate yield. And that's happening in the Cosmos ecosystem. So very bullish on Babylon, what they're doing. They have a lot of integrations. They also just announced one with Persistence. And Persistence is also introducing now restaking for themselves and being a restaking platform, not just with Babylon, but also like for all Cosmos assets. So yeah, I think the restaking and shared security space in Cosmos is really exploding right now, right? And I always say, when Eigenlayer launches on Ethereum, this is going to cause a massive restaking season and shared security projects will just pump left and right, similar to how Celestia caused a huge modularity season. And every project that has modularity in their name on their website just pumps, right? 10x, 100x, multi-billion valuation. So I think the same is happening with restaking and Babylon, Eigenlayer. There's also Ethos, but the Cosmos Hub itself, I think, are in a very good position to absorb some of that buy pressure. So very bullish on Babylon.
Yeah, me too. Do you actually know what the valuation is right now at launch?
I don't know, but I think they secured some decent investments from like some high profile, not just individuals, but also like centralized platforms, centralized exchanges. So I think that Babylon, I wouldn't be surprised if Babylon would launch at a multi-billion-dollar valuation, at least, like probably between 3 and 6 is my guess.
Great. Yeah, that's. I mean, obviously, this makes it hard to say underrated because it's like at a very very high valuation. Still, I believe that what Babylon does like very very well is like getting people from the Bitcoin ecosystem into the broader crypto industry, specifically Cosmos. So there's a reason why I'm very very optimistic about Babylon's future. I also attended the event in Denver. It was like a very nice event. And what I liked so much about it, there were like new faces, you know, like Bitcoin people, Bitcoin layer twos. And there's also a lot of development going on in that space. And it's good to basically build bridges here and also leverage Bitcoin, which is, as of now, the most secure blockchain, like that serves with the highest economic security, at least. So yeah, big fan of Babylon. So I would say fairly rated. Lots of hype, high valuation, but they are doing God's work. So you're doing a good job, fairly valued.
Yeah, sounds good.
Great. Then let us head to our last take of the day, which are meme coins. I think we can keep that relatively quick and dirty. So meme coins gained a lot of traction in the past couple of days and weeks and maybe even months. Actually, almost too soon, I believe, but I think people always love to gamble. I also remember the times when we were in a deep bear market. People were trading with CryptoKitties in 2017 or 2018 or something. And I think right now we have the same thing with meme coins. I believe there are some meme coins that are underrated. So, for example, Hua, there's a strong case for that because they also built the Huaverse. But yeah, I don't know. I have very mixed feelings for meme coins. Like on the one hand, I say extremely overrated, and I also don't like the fact that meme coins, that everything is about meme coins right now. I get they are funny, but there's so many developments going on. And I don't like that meme coins are taking all of the oxygen out of the room here. But on the other hand, it wouldn't surprise me if we would see a Dogecoin ETF by the end of the cycle. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
People will butcher you in the comments for Hua. Can already see the comments. But on another note, I think ape or die, meme coins are going to fly. And we have the richest man in the world pumping Dogecoin. And he literally bought a Shiba Inu and called him Floki. And that thing is also worth hundreds of millions. Bonk, Dog with Hat, $2 billion valuation. I think meme coins is probably a top 3 or 4 category now, right? Like in terms of category, like market size, it's absolutely massive. So it's culture in the end of the day, similar to NFTs. I think you always think like this is the peak now, this is the top for meme coins, and then it just keeps growing, gets bigger. So bless you. And
Thank you.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not the biggest meme coin degen. I probably also should spend a lot more time in the Solana meme coin jungle and just spend all day on deck screener.
Hold up. No, don't do that. So, funny story. Like, also just one thing for Hua. Actually, Hua is one of the few coins I'm very bullish on in the meme coin sector. But I can't recommend you doing that at all. Two of our very close Habibis, I will just put it like this, recommended me to look out for a meme coin on Solana I bought it and I got rugged. So I wouldn't
Was it
recommend
Epic
that
Climb?
as well. Yeah, that was paper climb.
Oh, I know which Habibis then.
Yeah. So I wouldn't recommend that. Like it's, I
No,
think
you
Hua
got
Hua is
wrecked.
really one of the,
You got wrecked because you were too late. It's all about timing.
Bro, it was an 800K market cap. What do you mean with too late? 800K market cap. That's like ridiculous.
Should have bought
No,
it
but
at 80K.
yeah, but generally I would say Hua Hua I'm very optimistic of because they built the Hua Hua verse and I like the founder Zydex. And it's a very strong meme, especially in the Cosmos. So Hua Hua is actually like a coin where I'm very optimistic about. It's also part of my $6,500 to my Porsche Targa for GTS portfolio challenge. So very bullish on Hua Hua actually.
Yeah, I think the only thing about Cosmos meme coins so far they haven't taken off because I think we need one big meme coin where the entire ecosystem is like rallying behind, right? And
Like
I
with
think
Bad Kids.
like with Bad Kids, exactly. Yeah, I think Chihuahua might be the one. It's also the OG one. But the only thing about Chihuahua is like it's too serious for me sometimes. Like like Dog with Hat. I don't know, like the biggest narrative that I'm not even following that project. The biggest thing, the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear about With is that they're like crowdfunding to advertise the Dog with Hat logo on the Sphere in Las Vegas. Like, and Chihuahua, like the first thing you hear about it is like, oh, they actually want to build a chain, an ecosystem, Huawei-verse, and like all these actual useful applications. But I think for meme coins, that's maybe even counterproductive. You need to do the opposite. The more degen, the less sense it makes, the better for the price. So I think we need that one coin in Cosmos to like really pick up. And I think this would also bring more eyeballs onto Chihuahua. And maybe that coin might be Hava. I don't know if you watched. Did you hear from Hava coin?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I've heard about a couple of folks on Twitter aping into it.
But they're doing a good airdrop. They're burning 50% of the supply. They're tier aligned. Their Twitter game is top notch. I have no idea who is behind it. This could also just end up becoming a full-on rug pull, but they have a good Twitter game, and I think Twitter game is what matters really here, and token distribution, right? And allowing people to like get in early at a very low valuation, because the biggest army of shillers are those that get in at very very early stages. So I hope they can increase even the further the airdrop amount. And yeah, I think having Celestia alignment definitely helps with the narrative, and even injective. I think that's what they're pushing for. That might be the one, but yeah, I don't know.
So meme coins, overrated or underrated?
You can't bet against them. Underrated.
I say fairly rated. I say fairly rated. In that sense, like overrated as of now, kind of.
I
But
think
I wouldn't be surprised if you would see a paper coin or Dogecoin ETF or dog with
100%.
head on the sphere. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. And then I look stupid if I say it's overrated. So it's fairly rated. I mean, we are still talking about billions of dollars that are in these coins.
Highly liquid, listed on all major exchanges. Everyone knows about it. A huge retail adoption. And like I said, Elon Musk with Dogecoin, I think they're going to integrate it on Twitter or X for payments. I think that makes that could be a huge value proposition. They already secured a bank license, so they can technically do it, I guess, soon. And I think they will also push for regulatory how you say that, regulatory clarity around Dogecoin, which would be huge for all meme coins. So, but on the flip side, I agree with what you said. There's so much hype in on Dex Screener with all these scam meme coins. It's just getting out of control, out of hand. And literally, if you're not buying at a $20,000 valuation before it pumps, like within 2 hours after the coin launched, you're already late. You're already late to the party. So it's a gamble casino at the same time. But yeah, you just need to be aware of that, not ape into this with your life savings, because very, very high risk that you lose everything. So that's also what people need to be aware of course.
Yeah, and I think that's also a great way to wrap it up for today. I think that's a perfect way to wrap it up. Be responsible with your life savings. Don't put all of that into meme coins. Generally we're in a very good position with the crypto market. Generally, I think we both can agree on that. And let's see what the next month will bring. What's your outlook for the month of for the next 4 weeks before we do this format once again? What's your outlook?
I think for the next 2 weeks, maybe for the rest of March, we'll probably see some sideways consolidation, especially from Bitcoin. I think altcoins might start running a little bit, but I think early April is when we have the pre-halving rally for Bitcoin. It's usually just 1 or 2 weeks before the halving where it just pumps a little bit, and then post halving, I think more consolidation. But I think altcoin season is imminent. So I don't know if it's starting next week or in 1 or 2 months. But I think within the next 3 months, latest after the Ethereum ETF approval, we're going to have a massive alt season.
If it gets approved, of course.
If it gets approved, yeah. If not, then it gets postponed. But I also don't think it will kill the alt season this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it would cancel alt season. So, but yeah, next 2 weeks, consolidation sideways, maybe some upwards movement from altcoins. And then we also have some big launches coming up in Cosmos with big airdrops, right? Like Saga, for example, is launching, I think, very soon in the next couple of weeks. We talked about Hava Coin. I think that one is launching very soon. I think Berachain, Babylon are also lined up to launch in the next couple of weeks and months. So, yeah, overall, I think the best you can do is probably just nothing. Just observe and enjoy. And smoke sheep.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that. I would say, I think we will see some consolidation, as you mentioned, maybe some dumps before the halving, then some anticipation for the halving, and then I think nothing much will happen. And then with more anticipation for the Ethereum ETF, I can very well imagine to see a big altcoin season in May or something, end of April, May, something like that, after the halving, similar to what we have seen with the DeFi summer. But I mean, this is just two German guys on the internet that just throw some narratives and assumption around. We are nobody. We don't have any clue what will happen. Don't take anything what we say as financial advice. And with that being said, make sure to follow Cryptocito on Twitter. Also, stake with Stakecito as well as with friends. We are the people who bring the attention to all of the coins you stake. And with that being said, Cito, thank you once again for being on, and I'll see you next month.
Thank you, sir. See you soon.